Welcome to the Radio Toons podcast, guys. How's it going?
Going pretty good.
I'm trying to make that intro. Way douchier. What's up, guys?
Hey, guys.
Yeah, there you go. I'm Steve.
I'm Ernie.
How you doing, Ernie?
Doing pretty good. It's been an eventful week.
I hope everyone's doing good. Has it been eventful?
Yeah, with Mother Day's right behind us.
Oh, yeah.
The baby's birthday. All that stuff's kind of left me drained.
Happy Mother's Day.
To all the mothers.
To all the mothers, yeah. Trevor Moore?
Yeah.
From the Whitest Kids, he had a good joke about Mother's Day.
What did he say?
He just said, "Thanks for all the pictures of your mother. I downloaded all of them." And I was like, "Oh, that's pretty funny. Nice, yeah."
That's good.
But yeah, so it's actually been kind of busy on both our ends. So if this is a fast podcast, I forgive
Please
you guys.
Forgive us.
Yeah. But what's big, Ernie? Is Nintendo's details?
Their new
service
online service, man.
Is that what's big news? Because it's
pretty big news. Although to be honest, it doesn't seem like.
It seems like lukewarm news.
It looks yeah. So if everybody's pretty familiar with Xbox Live and PlayStation Plus, $60, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's pretty big because you do online play, you get free games, blah blah blah. Technically not free games, yeah, don't say that. But Nintendo's the top membership is $20 for the whole year.
Yeah, I guess that's cool, but it's just weird because we've already been playing for free.
Yeah.
And now it's in September, all of a sudden you're gonna have to start paying for online. That's weird to me.
For compatible games, they say compatible games, but what they really mean is any online playing. If you play online and all, and then they're like, we're gonna give you 20 NES games with it, and I'm like,
the NES games suck too because it's soccer, tennis, ice climber,
it's basic Nintendo stuff. And if you have an NES Classic, you have all of these already.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say is why do you think that they would? Okay, so the other thing too is that they're not doing virtual console, or they're not calling it virtual console.
This is probably what's going to be.
It's good. So people are speculating so it's just going to be this rental service where you rent these games.
Right. You can only rent 20 at a time.
Yeah, and then that's what you get for the month or whatever.
Which, to be honest, depending on how quickly this library stacks up, could be worth it. For example, if they start doing if the next one is Super Nintendo, because they said it's going to be 20 NES games, but they're going to add Super Nintendo next, and then they said it could be N64 next. Speculating people are saying it's going to go up to N64. That's going to be the virtual console.
Yeah, you know what too is I was listening to other people's discussions on this, and they made a lot of sense what they were saying, which was maybe Nintendo just doesn't want to deal with another virtual console because people always complain when it's I already have this game on this, and you can get it at a discounted price, but that's not good enough for people and all that stuff.
It's because some people invested a lot of money in the virtual console.
Well, that's what I'm saying. For me personally, my 3DS has Super Nintendo, and I have a shitload of games on it. So it's what exactly would be the point for me to buy the Super Nintendo games again on Switch?
I know, and most of us, I think, have also gotten NES Minis, Super NES Minis, and it's we've loaded them up with all the games we'd ever want.
I think you have your fill on that end, right?
Yeah, I mean the only thing that we're waiting on now is the N64 mini.
Yeah. All I want is Mario 64 on Switch, and I'm good for life. That's all I really need. Yeah.
For life. Wow. But that was always the problem with the virtual console is if I bought it here, it would be stuck here. The Wii U was able to backwards play those games. But even with that, I was man, I got to do a whole thing to play this game.
Well, that's why I think people were speculating that just because they say virtual console is not coming back,
right?
It doesn't mean that nothing's going to take its place. So this could be the start of Nintendo's Netflix kind of service for video games,
Sure.
So if they make another Switch, you just have your subscription and you're good. You don't have to worry about I already bought it on Wii 8 years ago, so can I get it on Switch now?
But that's the thing. If it comes onto an online play, for example, all the games I used to have on my 360 didn't necessarily transfer to my Xbox One. but the service was still there, and like I still kind of got those as backups. It's very complicated.
Yes, I don't know. To me, it's weird to pay
it's
for
not. It's not a very high price. That's one point. That's a huge point in their favor is that it's $20.
Yeah, it's $20. I get that. I get that it's low. I just the idea of having to pay for my own internet is always like why. You know, like
you know what? You never like that's a whole different argument because like
I blame Xbox. They're the ones that started.
Why do you blame Xbox? PlayStation was doing just fine with it. Actually, PlayStation was like, that's a huge, not trying to make a pun, but it was a plus to PlayStation that, like, if you got that system, you didn't have to pay for online play. But then they were like, you know what? People will pay for it. Screw it. We're gonna do it.
That's why I blame Xbox.
But why do you blame Xbox? PlayStation had enough money. They could have just kept it that way.
They're a company, dude.
Okay.
The company mentality is always be making more money. And I think they saw the trend that worked.
So just because Xbox did it first.
Xbox was doing it since the original, right? You had to pay for Xbox Live? Yeah.
But at least they were upfront about it. They never said you can play online for free. They knew it cost money, and that's why when they started it, that's why their online has been pretty solid throughout all their consoles.
Yeah, I know when 360 came out, people were always like, PS3 online is garbage. 360 is like...
It was. I mean, I always heard that. I didn't get to play the PlayStation 3, so... Like, I always heard that. It was like, Xbox 360, yeah, you pay for it, but, like, it's so good online.
Yeah. You know? I mean, I understand that. It's just... to me, Nintendo stuff has always been, like, it's free. And, yeah, it's like, it might be shittier, but I'd rather just have it to be free than having to pay for it.
Here's the other thing, too. They got what are called save data cloud backups. So it's like, so no matter which Switch you're playing from or whatever, like if you transfer your games,
it's like
it'll back it up.
Like everything has cloud saving now, right? Like Xbox.
Yeah, everything does. So this is Nintendo catching up to it.
Which is so strange too because you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
So like it's like okay, what I find funny about that is that it's like it's a fucking console that has an SD card in it. Yeah,
not a very big one.
Yet you can't fucking move it to have your saves on it. Like if you put it in another Switch, it says something like you can't use this.
Yeah, because
right?
you
like,
technically don't own the games for this account.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. The other thing they have is called the Nintendo Switch Online app, which they haven't given us more information on.
You have to pay to use that too.
No, it's part of the plan.
Oh, it is?
If you get the $20 plan, it's part of it. So it comes with
that's
smartphone app.
That's what they meant. Yeah,
but it doesn't really. It just says like it's compatible with all your games, and it has like Splatoon as a reference, but it just shows like your stats and everything.
What
good is that to me?
Yeah, what does it offer you besides a phone call? Like if you're already on your phone, what can you?
I think maybe it's like you'll be able to voice chat. Like that would be the thing that I'm like, oh, you can voice chat over your phone in the game. I'd be like, that's actually pretty cool because you could have like most people have headphone setups for their.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is like, what can you get more than out of just a fucking phone call?
That's I don't know. Like seriously, like they've tried this before. I mean, you remember Microsoft Smart Glass? And I forget what PlayStation had that was like the same thing.
Well, I don't know if they had something that was the same thing, but
it was something that like connected to your phone, and then you could interact with things like in certain games.
Like Jackbox, I guess.
No, like okay, so the example was like on Xbox, it was Battlefield. You could play as like this You could play as like this commander mode, and you could drop weapons for your team from your tablet.
Okay.
Into this game, so you were literally interacting with this like big melee.
That stuff doesn't work.
It didn't because remember the Smart Glass was like 2 years ago. And then they stopped doing games are compatible with it.
You know what's so weird too is like I know it doesn't work because like Super Mario 3D World. When somebody was on the tablet and everybody else was like on the controllers. Yeah. It's not like you use the tablet to like do what you were supposed to. Like I don't know. I don't think the tablet works with the screen sometimes, you know, like.
Well, this like form of Smart Glass, they still use it with Xbox, and I think PlayStation has a certain thing where like you can control your TV, like you can use your phone as a controller for your TV. So that's still like a connectivity to
I think Xbox. That's about the extent of it because I remember when Ground Zeroes came out. I got it, and I downloaded that app that you could get for it, which was like the iDroid app. and it was like, oh yeah, you can listen to tapes, and you can like do all this other shit. All you have to do is link your save for it. And I was like, all right, cool, let's do it. And then as soon as the app downloaded, it was like, oh, choose your console. And I was like, get the fuck out of here with choose your console. I'm playing on computer. How am I supposed to use this thing?
Yeah.
So
I mean, here's the thing. Like they could use it for all sorts of other cool crap. Like, for example, if you're playing a game and you have the smart glass connected, you should be able to message friends through it, as opposed to having to go to like your messenger service on your screen and do that. But it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Okay. Well, being completely optimistic, let's just say Nintendo has some good ideas for it, and maybe it'll be worth it. Because I don't know. Just as of right now, it sounds like, what do you do with it? Like,
well, Nintendo's Online has always been kind of janky, and they've tried to stay away from it for so long. Like, the only time I've ever used online was for Splatoon, the first one. And all the Mario Karts. So any Mario Kart that was connected online, like Cindy and I used to play that on 3D DSs.
Yeah.
Because like that worked pretty well. You know, you could race each other. There was no talking, which is something that still boggles me. Is like Nintendo still hasn't figured out the whole voice chat thing.
Yeah. But I think that's a little bit different though. Didn't 3DS have like it has like a wireless thing. It's not Wi-Fi. It's just
I don't know, but it didn't. It obviously
that's how I played Smash Brothers. It wasn't Wi-Fi. It was just like if you guys are near each other, you guys can just play.
Sure, but was there, like, I'm just talking about like if you're playing Splatoon, right? Wouldn't it be great if you could chat? I know there's this whole thing where you can connect it through your phone, but
yeah,
it's really stupid.
I don't know. I mean, Splatoon. If we're gonna get into that, it's like, let me group up with my fucking friends. You can't play on the same team as
you just kind of all play together. And if you're kind of in this group,
it'll randomly spit you out into other people's
it's kind of dumb. So I mean, if this fixes all that for $20 a year, I'm in.
Well, it won't. I know that. I think the precautions for like Splatoon, like the whole like you can't group and be on the same team, is honestly just to prevent people from bullying other players.
I guess.
No, I swear it is. Like,
I guess, but if you guys are all like the way we used to do it is we would just all call each other, and we would all just have our phones on and have like the group calling going, and it was enough so that we could all play together.
No, I'm not saying there's.
And then when we all did land on the same team, it was magic.
Well, this is all I have to say about their online is like, you said it's a bit jank.
Yeah.
I don't mind jank on console. I don't care. Like what
You expect jank on console?
No, it just on console. It's like, what the fuck am I playing that I need that much accuracy for? I don't play like. I play Overwatch on computer. If I ever play Overwatch on console with my friends, it's like.
This is a joke.
I'm in.
A joke.
Yeah, I'm like in quick play, just like fucking around, or like if I'm playing Splatoon and it lags a little bit, I don't care. You know, like
I cared on the first one a little more because when we actually got on the same team, I was all hyped to play. But you're right, it's like so many things are stacked against you that it's just kind of like, okay, we're all in this kind of crappy version of online play.
Well, now okay, so now that leads me to my next point is like, now that I'm paying $20 for it, am I supposed to expect $20 of internet?
But that's that's what I'm thinking is they're going to launch this online service. And that name to me implies that they're going to do more than just, you can play online or something. It's like it's a little more to it.
I heard they're in the spreadsheet or whatever they put out, the document, whatever it is. They did say something about like, and special offers, but we're not going to tell you what those special offers are yet. So
yeah, but that's kind of the same deal as like what is it? Yeah, on Xbox it's Games with Gold, where they offer you like, if everybody gets 10% off, you get 20.
Okay.
And it's like, oh, great.
Yeah.
You know, like that doesn't do much for me.
Yeah, I could see. Yeah. Well, okay. Whatever. I mean, a discount is a discount. If it's already coming with your, like I don't care.
Sure. But I mean, my hope is that like you said, it fixes a lot of these issues because now it's an online service as opposed to just this game goes online.
We should mention that I think it was like the games that they're putting on to the service right away, like tennis and stuff, you can play online.
Right.
Like, and when I say online, it's just like emulator online, where like you could have somebody playing a second player like with you online.
Right.
Which is it's pretty cool. Yeah, like I'm like, okay, whatever. At least they're doing something, But I don't know. It just seems like there's so much more they could do.
Oh, I agree.
Like even like NES Remix was a step in the right direction. I think it's like you make those games that are like a little bit outdated. You just break them up into chunks, and it's like fun little mini games. Like
make them easy enough to just kind of like.
And I'm not even like.
Kind of like a WarioWare kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm trying to say with that.
You're trying to say you revamp something that's familiar.
Yeah, because like it's just no one's going back and playing Zelda 1, I think. Anybody who was born after the year 2000 doesn't give a shit about Zelda 1, like
no. The most they're going back and playing these days is like Ocarina of Time and being like, this is the original. And you're like, well,
you know what? Like in my head I'm thinking like a teenager nowadays is probably looking at Ocarina of Time and thinking this game is hideous and it controls like garbage. I don't want to, you know what I'm saying?
Well, it doesn't look like cutting edge.
No, exactly. Sure, that's my point. So I don't know.
But what's great about that is that a lot of indie games are starting to look like that. You know what I mean? Like indie games kind of go back to the retro, but put a new spin on it. Like with particle effects and all that.
It's funny that you said that because
I didn't. Why is it funny?
Because I was thinking something pretty similar this weekend. This weekend I was playing Crazy Taxi.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You were there. You were watching me play Crazy Taxi.
Badly.
Yeah, I was playing badly.
Yeah.
But our niece was with us, and she was just watching the game, and she was just like, "This looks like fun," and it just kind of dawned on me that like, she probably played something on iPad that looks this bad. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, she did,
and then she literally showed us a game like that.
So I'm like, maybe graphics aren't as big a deal as I think they are.
Nah.
Because there's so many platforms now that like you understand what I'm saying?
I agree.
Yeah, like and so I was like, oh, this is cool. Then she could just appreciate the fact that it's a fun, driving game, not like it has to be super realistic or like,
But here's the difference, right?
Uh-huh.
We were playing this game and it was fast paced and we were playing it in a way that made it look fun.
Yes, Crazy Taxi is so fun to this day.
It's so fun, but it's very difficult because just to get to like a Class B license, I had to play it at least 3 or 4 times to get kind of the pattern. But when she pulled up her clone of it called like Taxi Driver,
yeah, it did everything for you.
No, well, it was super slow.
Yeah.
And like it was, you got to grind to get better tires.
Yeah,
like
it was a mobile game. It was a mobile game. I get what you're saying, but fucking Crazy Taxi is a game. Okay, that's all I gotta say.
It's an arcade game for sure. There's different modes in it and everything, but I gotta be honest. Like the arcade game is the best part of it. That was one of those games that I always popped into this Dreamcast.
Yeah, it was nice to play it again just because I was reminded of like I'm playing this game within seconds.
Right.
I hit the start menu. And like within like 2 or 3 clicks, I'm like, I'm into the game.
Right.
And I'm playing this fast-paced game, dude. Like
that's the magic of Sega. They always knew how to do arcade.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like maybe Sega should have kind of stuck to that because maybe they should have gone more into because right now I'm playing Sonic Forces, but on the mobile version of it, which is essentially Temple Run with Sonic.
Yeah.
And it has like power up, blah blah blah. But essentially the game is very arcade-like.
Yeah.
Jump in somewhat quick because you have to wait for other people to load up.
Yeah.
But I can play a game within a couple minutes and then drop it. Very easy.
That's cool.
I mean, it's kind of how things are. They just take kind of something old and like smash in the retroness to it, and it seems to work. And
then they try and like, they have to work it into like a mobile app somehow. So
they gotta make you do
microtransactions. Yeah, you're gonna watch some videos. You're gonna accidentally click on some ads.
Some stupid, hey, let's build up a mansion thing.
Yeah.
At least we started to watch something on Netflix. Did you end up finishing it?
Yeah, I finished it. We started watching that new Sanrio Netflix series called Aggretsuko.
Aggretsuko? Is that how you say it? Aggretsuko?
Yeah, it just means the girl's
aggressive.
Yeah, like Retsuko because her name is Retsuko.
Here's the difference, though. I watched it in English. Steven watched it in the original Japanese.
Yeah, because it's a Japanese show. I figured
it was a Netflix original, so I thought it was originally in English.
Yeah. Okay. Fun fact.
Here we go.
The creator of the show.
FFs.
Yeah, the creator of the show. I believe her name is Rarecho.
Okay.
Rarecho. I don't know how to pronounce it. But in the Japanese version, she does the metal voice for Retsuko.
Oh, really?
So when Retsuko screams and she goes all metal, that's the creator of the show. So just a little fun fact.
And by the way, you did get her name right.
It's Raretcho or something like that. Yeah.
Raretcho. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you've never heard of Aggretsuko, I don't.
Well, first of all,
I'm butchering that.
If you've ever heard of Hello Kitty, she's actually part of that universe.
Yeah.
She's a Sanrio character.
Is she part of the?
Yeah, she's
universe?
part of a Sanrio character because in the beginning titles,
I know
it says
I know they're made
from the mascot company's Sanrio.
I know they make it, but I just didn't know if it was the same universe because they mentioned Sanrio in the show as well.
Really?
Yeah, one of the guys says,
"Oh, you look like one of those Sanrio characters." That's right.
Yeah, they make a little joke about it.
According to the Wikipedia, it was originally aired on TBS.
Yeah, there was a few shorts in 2015, I believe.
Yeah.
So anyway, the show is about a red panda that kind of looks like Hello Kitty.
Right.
And if I'm being very, I guess, if I could give you a very generic description that probably everyone is using right now.
Okay.
It's a modernized Hello Kitty. It's like if Hello Kitty had a day job, and she
had severe depression.
Yeah, she was going through the daily grind of life. And that's basically what this show is. It's a slice of life kind of show.
It's definitely a slice of life show, but it's one of those things where it's modernized because like if this was something done in the 90s, it would have been more like slice of life and then she loves to cook, or slice of life and she has magic powers and blah blah blah.
She goes to the arcade or something.
Yeah, she's like a street fighting champion or something like that. But this one is very like not niche, but it feels like this is made for people who are like super different. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So part of this show is that her like little secret is that she takes all this crap from a bunch of people, and then at night she goes to a karaoke place and she like does scream metal.
Yeah, she belts out these like this death metal style like singing.
And it seems to alleviate her rage.
Yeah, it's her little what am I trying to say? It's like her, not her vice, but it's like her little hobby.
Yeah, well, I would call it her release because of all the aggression she has to, like, all the crap she has to take during the day. And then she just does this at night and has to keep it kind of a secret. I love the show. I do.
I like it,
I definitely had problems with it just because it was, at some points, it was a little cringy. Because that, like, I did listen to a little bit of it in Japanese and then I switched it over because I was trying to, like, work and watch it, but you have to read it, so I had to switch it. The English dub is very like, it's very cringy. It's a lot of that whole, God, for lack of a better term, it was like those. Have you ever seen those cringy anime compilations of girls trying to do voiceovers and they keep saying "senpai, notice me," that kind of stuff? Sounds so much like that. It made me cringe a couple times.
Yeah, that's why I wouldn't recommend you watch it in English. I mean, if you already watch shit in English, by all means. But if you want to hear what it's supposed to sound like originally, like...
that aside, it was very cool because I think at one point or another we've all felt like that at work. Well, like the slice of life stuff is very relatable because it's like people pile up on her.
It's a very relatable show. And it even like... how we were saying it was modernized. There's like times where they're talking about like stuff like Instagram or like there's like a fake Instagram, there's like fake Twitter, and then like she goes and drinks every night, or like she has this friend that's always like she's a
very pessimistic person.
She has this. I was talking about the cat actually. She has this cat friend who's always like.
She's the wanderlust.
Yeah, she's like, how do you survive? Like, you don't have a job all the time, and like you're always.
Well, like I think that's the point of the show and it being the slice of life is that she represents more of the population that's like somewhat responsible, but they're not where they are in life. And then they have these outskirt people who are like the cat girl. She's like, I just make enough money, and then I go back to where I want to go, and then spend it until I can't make any more money. Yeah, it's like you know people like that in your life that that will forever be that kind of person. So they'll just show up in your life, they'll try to borrow some money, and then they'll take off again.
You know what's cool about this show? I should say what's cool about a lot of anime-style shows. The premise is always something that sounds a bit bland, right? Like, there's an anime about, like, ice skating and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's like, you start watching it, and all of a sudden you're just like, oh, man, you don't even understand how important, like... like, if they need to get that technique right, or they need to get this show right, like, it's so weird how you tend to care about, like, characters that aren't even, like, supernatural in a way, because a lot of, like, animes and stuff just have good writing and good characters. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what this show has, too, is that, like, Aggretsuko, for instance, is, like, she's not anything extraordinary, but...
No, not at all.
But because she's so relatable, and because of, like, the predicaments she gets into, you really, like, feel for her, and you, like, identify with her.
Yeah, like, you're using the word relatable because that's, I think, what makes us care about her so much. Mm-hmm. We've all had a first job, because it's her first job.
Yeah.
Like, she works for an accounting firm, and it's super boring.
She's 25 years old, too, so right in that age. Right in
that good age.
Yeah, that's like that demographic that everyone's at. Like, mid-20s is, like, when you don't know what the fuck you're doing with your life, like... This job that you get right after college could be your last job, like, for the rest of your life, or it could be your first of many. You don't know where things are going.
And what I like, too, is that they have a lot of stereotypes in the show in terms of, if anybody here's ever worked for an office, you all know, like, the brown noser, the flirt, the blah, blah, blah. And each one of those people is represented in this show. But at least they try to humanize most of them.
That's what I was gonna say too. Is that, like, they do have those
which is ironic
people...
considering they're animals. Sorry,
yeah, they do have characters like that. And towards the end of the show, you actually find out that they're like, oh, they're people. They're people, yeah. And, like, they're actually they're like that for a reason. Right. Like, it's I don't want to spoil anything.
I mean, there's not much to spoil because it's.
I think there is. I would say okay. Another good thing about this show, real quick. Mm-hmm. It's only 15 minutes. There's only 10 episodes.
Oh yeah, it's like Aqua Teen style. It's just like the little 15-minute show.
You could finish the whole series in like 2 hours, 2 hours and a half or something.
Yeah, and again, watch it. If you could just sit there and watch it and read the subtitles, that's probably better because I had to listen to this. Really, I mean, it's not terrible voice acting, but it's just so anime that it kind of annoyed me.
Okay.
But the rest of the characters sound better than the main... What was her name again? The main girl?
Aggretsuko. Yeah. She's a red panda, by the way.
Yeah. I just thought she was a fox, to be honest.
Red panda.
But I know that she has that little tail.
Those are hot right now. Red pandas. Everyone loves red pandas, so they gotta have her be a red. That's why I said it's like a modernized Hello Kitty, because it's like... people like kitties back then. I mean, I'm sure they like them now, but, nowadays...
The hotness.
Yeah, nowadays they got to go with the new hotness, Red panda.
No, I get that. But in terms of the show, I think what got me first was the art style of it.
I like the art style, too. It reminds me of, like, a Newgrounds cartoon or something.
Yeah, a little bit. And, the movements, I just because Steven and I have been animators, Steven more is an animator than I am, but... I've recognized all the loops that they've been using, but they use them so well in the series that I stopped noticing them and just let the show kind of play out.
Yeah,
her whole her karaoke screams and everything you could tell are like pretty templatized. Like they could just move that animation loop anywhere, but at the same time it kind of works.
You know what I was gonna say too. I mean, okay, we could keep talking about the animation for a second. As much as I did say, like, it's charming and I like that it looks like a Newgrounds cartoon, there were some times where I was like, they literally just copy and pasted that same thing like 5 times. Like, their computer monitors have the same sticky notes on them. I'm nitpicking so hard right now. Their computer monitors have the same sticky notes on them, and I'm like, they couldn't just move one of them off or, like, just make it look like it wasn't, like, a fucking template that they just threw on there.
I'm telling you, that's exactly what it was. Like, everybody has... It felt like everybody had like 3 types of movements.
Yeah.
And that was it, because you just kind of like replaced those. But
it's funny that you said Aqua Teen then, because Aqua Teen
That's exactly how Aqua Teen is. Yeah. And that's what I'm like, seriously, it's been one of my favorite shows in the last 10 years. But it's like, it's more that the writing and the story are front and center, and the animation is just there to communicate the
and it's not nearly as bad as Aqua Teen. But also,
no, not at all.
But I will say that fuck, I forgot what I was gonna say. Keep going. You were saying something.
Well, it's like the good thing about this one is that even though it all seems very templatized, they do enough with the scenery that you feel like, well, there's some shots in here. Like they decided, interior of the break room facing out, and then the room itself is in darkness. Like Aqua Teen, you literally always had the same 3 backgrounds. Carl's house was always from the same angle. Outside was always from the same angle, and inside the Aqua Teen house was always the same angle.
I actually remember anytime we would see like new animation in Aqua Teen, I would be like, "Whoa,
whoa!"
Like, holy shit!
The first time I saw it, I remember was if anybody's seen Aqua Teen, is when they do hand banana.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I was like, "Wow, somebody! They broke the bank on that one," because like he was running, and that running looks so fluid. I was like, "Ooh, what is this?" But it's charming. It's the show is really charming in that it has all the anime tropes, like the sweat drops, the whole like.
I was gonna say as far as like anime tropes, I was gonna say the show still has that formula of anime where like One Punch Man. Mm-hmm. In One Punch Man, you're just waiting for him to punch something the whole time, and in this show, it's like you're just waiting for her to scream. You're waiting for that, like that's the climax of the episode. So, I was gonna say, as the animation is like, I don't know how fast they made this show, So if they had like shitty deadlines, then by all means take all the shortcuts you can as far as like animating.
But, I mean, the character is a very, it's a very illustrative form of doing a show in that. They're all supposed to be like these really solid silhouettes. So that's why you barely ever see her like at a quarter turn or anything. It's always like front and center, or it's like side. You know what I mean? So they always try to keep her like pretty, almost like an illustrator file.
I will say that Aggretsuko's design. Mm-hmm. I really love that design. It looks so
good design.
It looks really cool. I like the colors. It's got complementary colors. But it's the whole reason I even watched the show was because I saw her little she just looks cool.
Yeah.
Like she looks like a cool character. I also found the show in a tab called Girls Night In, by the way. So
wow. I just saw it because it was the first thing that it would always for a while it was the first thing that came up in my you know how sometimes when you open Netflix there's something kind of a preview playing.
I think
that was the first one that came up.
Yeah, right now it's like Bill Nye Saves the World or some shit.
Well, for you, but who knows for every it's different.
It's different for other. Yeah. I didn't know that. Okay.
Mine, it was her. It was that one.
Okay.
And I think it was because I've been watching kind of like cartoony shows recently.
Yeah.
It's like I watched all of Aqua Teen. I've been watching a lot of that stuff. So, I mean, overall, I love the show.
I really like it too. I would say
if it was any longer, I don't know if I could stomach that, to be honest.
Well, they might do a season 2.
No. I mean, 15-minute chunks.
No, yeah, definitely. It is a very what am I trying to say? Like a very digestible amount.
Yeah,
I think
sure. I think that's a good amount of time for a story that's like this is her today. This is her after this incident. It's like enough where it doesn't overstay its welcome, and the show's concepts aren't very complicated.
That's another reason why I say it's like very modernized, because like people want that.
Yeah.
People want something they can watch like 15 minutes and then I'm going to go do something else, or and it's fast. It's short and sweet. Yeah,
it's like to borrow like something else from Ego Raptor. It's like little potato chips version of story as opposed to having this whole cake.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And that's good enough because the character.
He got the metaphor backwards, by the way.
No. It's the metaphor is that like he used it in a way that was like this. He's like, video games can give you small rewards, and they're good because you enjoy them a little bit at a time, and they just keep giving you more. Or that's when it comes like MMO and grinding stuff. That's how they keep you going.
Yeah,
it's a small portions. The more you do it, the less it has to be.
He said grinding is like potato chips because you don't really gain anything, as opposed to like
no. You gain little rewards all the time. So it's like, but they don't like. That's why you can digest more of them.
Okay.
Right. But like, if you were to have this whole big meal, it's like he's saying it's like, oh, it's only going to stay here this amount of time, but that's all you get. There's not like just more and more and more and more. This is more like a potato chip thing where it's like
everyone's lost on this metaphor.
Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that the depth of this show is formatted perfectly with 15-minute intervals.
Yeah.
You know, because it's not, like I said, it's not a super complicated thing to do. And it's like a small little tiny soap opera.
It's a very funny show too. I thought a lot of parts were very funny.
Like what?
Just like, well, the first episode, she's wearing sandals to work on. She's wearing like Crocs to work on accident.
Yeah.
And like she's trying not to let people notice, so she does like this weird dance, so that people don't look at her feet.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. Or like, I don't know. Like I don't want to spoil any jokes for people that are watching it.
Well, there's oh, by the way, there are a little bit of cultural differences. Like there's an episode where she's like, she's like, I'm gonna be eating ramen for the next few blah blah blah. And then she's actually eating bread and mayonnaise because she's out of money.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I was like, bread and mayonnaise? Gross. It's like small things like that.
I don't even know if that's a thing in Japan. Maybe she was just that broke that she had to eat
bread and mayonnaise are expensive. I think a cup of noodles is even less expensive here.
Oh, I see.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But I don't know.
But she was eating like the crust.
I don't know what she was eating, but she was just eating mayonnaise and bread. And I was like, that's really gross. She's just about mayonnaise and bread.
She's a panda. They eat trash.
She's not a trash panda. That's gross. But I like... Well, here's the other thing. Like, when she goes to work, they have a girls' locker room for changing for an office job.
Yeah,
So there's another difference. It's like, it's like they have changing rooms for
at
work.
Yeah. That is kind of
Which is a little weird.
It's a bit strange. I don't know. I've never had a job where I have to wear a uniform, so I wouldn't know.
Bastard. I've had to wear a uniform. It's not...
And you just go like that?
Well, no, you had lockers there, but, like, you had to have a certain amount of clothes already on. Like, I had to go in my... Like, I used to work at In-N-Out, so you'd have to go in your shoes and your pants.
Oh, okay.
At your pants at the very least, because it's like, well, what were you going to do? They had the shirts there. That's what they took care of. But the pants you had to bring and the shoes you had to bring.
Okay, I see.
And you never left them there because somebody might jack your shit.
Oh, really?
That was
even at In-N-Out?
Even In-N-Out, man. Because, like, somebody's like, I just need shoes for this shift.
Somebody broke in, they were In-N-Out.
Are you proud of that one? You really proud of that one, Steve? Sorry. You guys should see how much he's cracking up. Just like when Steven cracks himself up.
We have another. We have one more show to talk about real fast because we have some time. Ernie finished Sherlock.
Yes.
BBC.
And you've heard us talk enough about Sherlock, where I think you guys know that we both like it, but the finale.
Yes, Sherlock on BBC. It's on Netflix right now. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, starring Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman. We're not gonna spoil this either.
I kind of wanted to spoil.
We would love to have everyone who listens just go watch it, because I think it's such a brilliant show. I don't want to overhype it though. There's definitely a lot of stupid parts.
Well, no, I don't think you're overhyping it because, like, if anybody isn't familiar, the episodes are like an hour and a half, almost 2 hours, right? Something like that. So each one is kind of its own little mini movie.
Yeah.
And there's only 4 episodes a season.
Something like that, yeah.
So, I mean, there's a reason that they're an hour and a half, and they get plenty of time to do all they need to do. And then every single quote-unquote case feels like, wow, there's this little adventure of Sherlock movie. I mean, it feels like enough time. So that's why each one kind of feels brilliant.
It's weird, too, because, like, you might say an hour and a half is a long time, but as far as the story goes, they move the story very fast in each episode. There's an episode where someone gets married and then finds out that they're going to have a baby in that same episode, and then like the next episode they already have the baby. So it's like, there you go. Like, I mean, what I'm trying to say is that the show doesn't waste time, and that's one of the things I really like about it.
Now here's my criticism, because I did love the show.
You're going to talk about the effects, aren't you?
No, I wasn't, but it's a good thing you brought those up because I kind of forgot. The effects are here and there. When the show starts, the effects are like they're at the beginning of what they're gonna be later.
Yeah, they're kind of bland, but it's a TV show. Like,
not even the bland. They're on the verge of being unplanned.
Okay.
Like somebody added them as an afterthought.
Okay, maybe, sure.
because there's like this is a little more like in our side of it, but like when you're gonna do text over a live shot, for the most part, if you want to make it seem like it's in the space that it's in, you kind of have to track like the space so that the words feel like they're actually in the space that you're doing it. This didn't feel like it. This seems like they did an overlay and then kind of tried to make it work as an afterthought. Later on in the series, it gets better, but they use it less.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Is that why you're saying it's like an afterthought? Because
like in the first season, I feel like it was at the very end they decided, you know what would be great, and you know what would make this stand out is if we had words.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like every time Sherlock sees something, there'd be a word there, kind of thing. And it to be honest, it doesn't hurt the show.
Okay, well let me say this. From what I've heard, like as far as TV goes, directors come and go every single episode.
Sure.
So if it's a case of like the director's like, I don't like that, or like here's how we're gonna do it this episode, here's how we're gonna do it this episode, then I completely understand. Because there are some episodes where it's like, oh, Sherlock's thinking about something, and then it's just like a Rolodex of things and it looks cool, and then other episodes it's like literally like the first episode where he does his mind palace thing. I'm like, what were they?
Do it in the first episode.
No, the first episode where he does his mind palace technique. It's just very like tacky editing, which I wasn't sure if they were just like, maybe they're doing this on purpose because they know that like Sherlock is kind of like a clod, you know, like he's not the nicest person, so maybe they don't want to make him look super cool all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I don't know, but there's something definitely like I think adding that the directors come and go is a good statement, or it's good to know that when you're going in to watch it, because then you're like, oh, this is this person's take on this show.
Yeah, there's I mean that happens with a lot of shows, but it's really apparent in this one just because like some episodes get super heavy with these like visual metaphors, like where they have like sequences filmed in other locations just to show you like what's going on as far as like visual. It's crazy.
The point that I was going to in the very before we started talking about the effects was the fact that going into this, just so you know, some things are going to remain ambiguous. So, not to say that there are no answers to anything. I'm saying some things will be left in the ether. Not necessarily important things, but try not to let that bother you, because like as I was watching the show, I would come home and I'd be like, "Hey, Steve, what do they ever talk, or do they ever finish talking about this?" And you're just like, "Keep watching the show."
Yeah.
But some of the things that I asked about, they just never got resolved.
Well, like,
but I think that was a decision they made.
Yeah, and I don't. If it was just bad writing on their part, you know, like maybe the writers didn't know how to get out of that situation or something. By all means, you know, that's the truth or whatever. I don't know, but if I could just defend this for 1 second. I would just say that like they're leaving it up to interpretation, because that sometimes is the classier thing to do, you know? Because we were just talking about sequels the other day, and how sequels are made for fans, you know? That's like, that's fan service. Portal 2 is a perfect example, you know? Because in Portal 1, Gladys is just this voice that talks to you the whole time, and she's a robot, and you don't care about how she was created. The more mystery there is there, the better in a lot of ways, right? But like when you dive into Portal 2 and it turns out, oh, she was human, and she really liked this guy named Cave Johnson, and he just spoke to her, and she sacrificed her body for science. Like they try to humanize her in a way that kind of takes away from the point that it's like she's just there to be the villain, you know? Like I'm being tested on by this weird robot thing. Cool. That's all I really want to know. I don't really need to have like this elaborate backstory. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I guess so. It's just, I don't know. I will admit that the ambiguity is intentional, because when they talk about it, the characters themselves, instead of doing the whole exposition where they explain the whole thing, they're like, they'll say a line, or it'll be part of the storyline where it's like, I don't have time to explain this to you. Yeah. Just trust that what I'm saying is true, blah, blah, blah. So intentionally they leave these things ambiguous, and kind of vague so that your mind kind of will fill in the gaps.
I think the biggest example of that is Star Wars. It's like, did everyone like...
What?
Really? No?
I don't know what you're talking about, no.
Okay, the Clone Wars.
What about them?
Was it better as a conversation, or did you want to see that shit?
Well, no, but that's different, because what I'm saying is, like, there's certain situations and certain ways things, like, from episode to episode, something will happen in this episode, and then those characters will, or that situation won't resolve itself in that episode, and then in the next episode they kind of just mention it,
right?
But you never get closure on it. But it's just something that just know that we resolved it.
Yeah, there's actually a big moment in the show where they kind of do that, where they're just like,
well,
we're not going to tell you what happened.
But in terms of Star Wars and that example, it's, in my opinion, that's poor, because the Clone Wars was something that was mentioned as a way to explain away something that they weren't going to show here.
Mm-hmm. Even like Darth Vader, for example, it's like he was better left a mystery. I don't really care about like his backstory.
I think his backstory could have been better, but it had to be done from his perspective, or not from his perspective. I should have said, because what's great about Sherlock is you're not really seeing it through the eyes of anybody in particular.
You are.
No, and what I mean is that the person who's present doesn't necessarily have the person whose eyes you're seeing it through don't have to be in the room, because the whole thing is told through the perspective of John Watson, because he writes his stories. So you're seeing the story version of these, or like the genesis of these stories. So you know that they have several conversations where Sherlock goes like, that's not what happened. He's like, yeah, but it's more romantic this way. Yeah. And he wrote it in a different way.
That's what I was going to say. He's a storyteller. Is that like Watson is definitely like the audience in the show.
He's the audience, but you don't necessarily see it through his eyes, is what I'm saying. Because if you did, it would be like everything that John Watson was present for would be accounted for. But that's not how it is. So you're allowed to see Sherlock without Watson, and Watson can be without Sherlock.
I get it, but he's like Chris Tucker in Rush Hour.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? How does that not make any sense, really? How does that not...
explain it, because just explain it.
He's a sidekick.
I understand, but...
He's there watching brilliance firsthand the whole time, commenting on it like, oh my god, you just did that. That's insane.
Right, but wouldn't you think that the whole thing is actually through the eyes of Jackie Chan?
No.
All the comedy comes from the fact that he doesn't understand what country he's in.
The audience is Chris Tucker. 100%. 100%.
What?
How is that not true?
No, I'm not saying it's 100% one or the other. I think it's a buddy comedy. Because there's a lot of times where you're seeing the United States or whatever, you're seeing it through Jackie Chan's eyes.
Who do you relate to more in Rush Hour? Chris Tucker or Jackie Chan? Don't say Jackie Chan.
Don't say Jackie Chan.
How dare you?
Well, don't you, you start out with Jackie Chan.
Sure, I guess. Maybe that was a bad metaphor.
Yeah, because you meet Chris Tucker halfway through the movie. Or, in the first 10 minutes.
He's the more human one. I think he's the
Human?
Yeah. Dude, Jackie Chan is not human in that movie.
We're off the rails here.
He does some crazy... My point was that Watson is the one standing by watching all this happen just like us.
Yes, but because Sherlock is... He's not human.
He's extraordinary, yeah.
Yes. Jackie Chan is the cop. He's a cop. He's got some karate, but he's still a cop.
He's also extraordinary, dude. Come on. You don't think so?
I don't see it. I see that being a buddy cop movie, in that you're supposed to relate to both of them.
He does ridiculous shit.
Yes, well, whatever. But in Sherlock, you don't know how his mind works, and you're never given the privilege of knowing how exactly his mind works. You're given glimpses.
He talks in
Mind Palace.
He talks aloud.
No, but sometimes he does the whole thing where he goes like, "Really? You don't know? Okay, well, I'd explain it to you." And then John Watson goes like, "No, forget it. Just let's go."
Yeah.
Because the different ways that he's able to deduce something, he doesn't necessarily explain it a lot of the times.
Well, that's another reason why we're John Watson, because we don't get to hear the explanation.
That's true. That's definitely true. Is that the buzzer?
Yeah, I don't know. Your phone was fucking loud right now. Yeah, we are out of time.
Okay.
But what are our final thoughts? What are we recommending here?
Final thoughts is I hope Nintendo says something about this whole online service at E3 that really kind of clarifies it.
Oh yeah, E3's coming up.
Aggretsuko, I would highly recommend it because it's a very small story, easily digestible.
If you like Japan, watch it.
But if you're not a fan of that, if you're not a fan of like something that's short, simple, and easy to watch, watch some Sherlock because Sherlock's an investment. Sherlock is an investment in time, but you get a lot out of it because Cumberbatch and Freeman as a team so good together.
Yeah, the director said that when Martin Freeman came in to speak or to read lines, they were just like, "Well, that's the show, isn't it? That's the show right there, isn't it?" In that British way that they talk, they were just like, "Yeah, well, that's the show, isn't it? Yeah, there it is."
Is that your British accent?
Yeah, they were just like so matter of fact, like, "Well, that's it, isn't it? Oh, that's the show." Well,
he's having a laugh.
Yeah,
is he having a laugh?
Yeah. So
Aggretsuko?
Yeah, I would recommend it. Yeah, of course, 100%. There's two amazing shows. Two amazing shows. Did you have something to say, Siri? Two amazing shows.
Right and there. Then what about Nintendo? Lastly,
I don't know, man. They gotta pull something out of their ass at E3 because I don't like this whole like pay for whatever.
Pay to use your internet. We got you.
It's just like I hate to say it because it's like Nintendo does all these amazing things. Like they make Zelda, they make Mario, and the Switch is like a ridiculous console. And then they do one fucking bad thing. They go back to like their Nintendo ways for a second, and everybody hates them. So I'm trying.
Nobody's perfect, Steve.
I'm trying to just like give them the benefit of the doubt,
Yeah. We'll see at E3.
Yeah, we'll see. But anyway, that does it for this week, guys. See you next week.
See you next week, guys.